Now, here's your host for Q&A, DJ Fone.
And welcome to the Monday edition of Q&A. I'm your host, DJ Fone. Our producer is Lindsay Draper. And on today's show, we are going to talk about bullying. We're going to open the show by talking to pop star Drew Ryniewicz. She is going to be in town tomorrow night for a concert at Matt's Saloon. And after that, after the news, we will talk with Rhonda Orr, the anti-bullying advocate who has spoken to so many groups around town. So, lots of good stuff coming your way. Stay tuned for some great talk on Q&A coming up on the Talk of the Quad Cities, 11:30 a.m., 99.9 FM, and streaming live at KQNA.com.
Quad Cities KQNA. Once again, here's your host, DJ Fone.
And we are back live at 3:05 with Chino Valley's very own Drew Ryniewicz. Before we get to Drew, I want to tell you about if you're making dinner plans for tonight, I've got the answer for you. It's Gabby's Grill. It's Monday Madness, or Manic Mondays, at Gabby's Grill, right next to the Harkins 14 movie theater in the entertainment complex. Because of KQNA Radio, if you just tell your server, we would like to buy one, get one free, you will get your second meal of equal or less value completely free tonight only if you tell your server, buy one, get one free, the radio special at Gabby's Grill. So don't forget that, Gabby's Grill in Prescott Valley, right next to the Harkins 14. And Drew Ryniewicz is with us. Drew, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. How are you?
Great. You're coming through loud and clear. You have the voice of a singer, very, very obviously. Let me ask you this, Drew. How old were you when you were told, girl, you can sing?
Oh, man. I mean, it had to have... Okay, I have been told that by Ken Byers. I believe I was 13 at the time. But I was told that at a very young age, and it took me a while to believe it. You know, you never know when you live in a small town where there's not a huge music industry. You never know if it's true or if maybe people don't know that you're really bad.
And, you know, when I was a kid, all of my grade school classes, we had a music teacher come in a couple times a week, and she would break us down into, you know, different voice ranges and stuff. And I guess you find out at a very early age by the kids around you if you can sing or not, because they'll tell you to shut up if you can't sing, and they told me to shut up.
Oh, no!
So in the course of starting your musical interest and your singing and everything, did you sing in churches, school groups? How'd you get started?
Well, I sang in church, I sang at my school talent shows, and I began to compete around at local talent shows here in Prescott Valley, Flagstaff, everywhere I could locally. I competed just because I wanted to know if I was really a good singer. You know, you want to give up if you think you're not good, and so I wanted to just keep competing to see if I was getting better or you know what different people thought.
Now, you're going to be at Matt's Saloon near Courthouse Square tomorrow night for a singles release party, correct?
Yes, I just finished writing my first single, and it's taken me about 4 years since I got off of the X Factor, and finally we wrote the song. It just came together so perfectly and so beautifully. It's called Ugly. That's kind of ironic because I said beautifully, but it's called Ugly, and I'm just so excited about it. It's an anti-bullying song, but I wanted to make a song that wasn't so cheesy with that message. That was something that people would really respond to in a positive way, but still listen to in the way that they'd listen to the rest of the songs on the radio. And so, yes, we're doing a release party at Matt's Saloon tomorrow night.
Now, I understand you're going to have a meet and greet after the concert, correct?
Yes, there is a meet and greet. General admission is $5, and the meet and greet is $15. And all of the proceeds for the general admission and $5 from the VIPs goes to my favorite charity, Skip One. And
Skip One, I understand, they support, or they say, they will tell you more than 1 billion people around the world are undernourished, and skip1.org taps into the world's wealth to try and bring food and water to children and families in need. And their idea is very simple. Instead of spending a few bucks on that latte or a car wash or a magazine or lunch, just skip it and save that money and donate it to skip1.org, because every dime and every dollar goes to the acquisition and distribution of food and water projects worldwide. So I have to ask you, how did you first learn about them, and how did you get involved with them?
Well, I was blessed to meet Shalene, the founder, a few years back at an event that I did with Candace Cameron, and she was there with Candace. And I met her, and there was just an instant connection. I could feel the authenticity in the words that she said, and I could feel that she was a very real, honest person. And so I met her then, and I loved the concept. I really loved skip something, feed a child. I love that you could skip something so small and still know that you're giving to somebody else around the world, that it doesn't have to be thousands of dollars. I love that message, and I love Shalene, and it is a very real charity, and I love that.
And in the course of doing your show tomorrow night, you will be doing singles from your EP, correct?
I will be performing my full EP tomorrow night. It'll be one of the first times I've ever performed it, and I'm so glad I get to perform it here in my home. This is just family, and this is the place where all of the people have just really supported me and done everything they could. And so I'm so excited to be performing some of these songs for the first time here in my hometown.
Now, you grew up in Chino Valley, went to school in Chino Valley. Of course, you made your big national breakout by reaching number 6 on the X Factor. How does someone go from Chino Valley to a national TV series?
It takes determination, and it takes a little bit of childlike wonder, I think, because I had to really believe that I could get there. And it's hard. You know, there isn't really a pathway from small towns to the big city where people are doing the music life. And so you have to really dream that it can happen. And it's as childlike as Disney characters. You've got to believe in something that you don't really know if it could really happen. Mm-hmm. And that's what I did. I went out there, I put myself out there, I auditioned for the show, and the auditions are real, which I like, because I wasn't sure if that anybody from a small town would really ever get noticed on a show like that. And so you take the humility that you get from the small town, and you take the upbringing from being from a small town, and you bring it into the city, and I love that.
You know, when I moved from the Midwest to the West Coast, I kept hearing the term Midwestern or Heartland values, and you learn that in a small town, don't you?
Yes, you definitely do, and that's one of the most important things I think you could take into the music industry or the entertainment industry, or really any young entrepreneurs, is to take the humility that you grow up with from coming from a small town, take that with you, and really use that, and really spread that and share that with people who weren't raised in that upbringing, or who were. You know, just keep sharing that with the world, and that's a really important part of growing, is to be able to come back to your roots.
And, Drew, we're going to be giving away some tickets tomorrow to your singles release party at Matt's Saloon. It'll be on Ken Byers' Morning Mix show tomorrow on KPPV. And what do you know? Guess who just showed up?
I just had to jump in, Drew. I just had to jump in and just say that every doubt that you just listed there in your explanation to DJ, I knew. And the other judges knew that night at Prescott Valley Days Idol contest. I told you there in front of the crowd, you made me cry with your song and with your voice. And I told your mom and dad that night, if you recall, you better get some seatbelts because she's going to take you for one heck of a ride. And so far, I've been right.
Oh, Ken, it's so great to hear from you, and thank you so much for saying that. You are one of the first people that really helped me believe in myself, and I'm forever grateful for that. Thank you so much.
The Drew crew will be there tomorrow night.
All right, I better see ya.
That's great news. And, you know, Drew, I'm really glad Ken jumped in with that, because an awful lot of people, when I was in Los Angeles, I read the LA Times every day, Los Angeles Magazine, all sorts of showbiz publications. And if there's one thing I learned, it's this: absolutely nobody makes it without help.
That's right. Yep, it's not a one-person thing, and you don't single-handedly get there. I give so much thanks to everyone that I've been surrounded with, just because it is a team effort. You might be the face of it, but it takes so many people to make something like this happen, and to make a dream happen, and to make it happen right. And so it's so important to have an awesome support team around you, and I couldn't stress that enough to any other young people, you know, trying to make it in this world. It's so important that you know that you have to have great people around you.
And it's important to treat people well on your way up, because if you don't, on your way back down, they're going to remember you, aren't they?
That's right. That's right.
I have to ask you about Simon Cowell, because he worked with you on the X Factor, and he kind of took you under his wing. A lot of people have been very successful on the national talent shows who not only have very good voices, but also they have what Simon once called the whole package. What did Simon tell you to work on, or that you really needed to put out there, in addition to having a really nice voice?
Well, what I loved about being on the X Factor, and what I loved about being on Simon's team, is he wanted to keep it honest. He always wanted an honest performance from me. He said to He's like, be yourself. There's nothing else you could do but go up there and be yourself, because that's what people believe, and that's what people respond to, and that's what people are searching for, is for other people who want to be themselves. And Simon gave me that advice right when I was on the show, and I took it with me the whole time. That's all I wanted to get across, was that I was just being myself.
So how nervous were you? I mean, you were on X Factor for how many weeks?
I lived there for about 3 months on the show. We did filming for about 3 months. I was 14 years old, and I was so nervous. I'm still nervous. I'm 18 today, and the nerves just don't go away. You think you're going to get, better at not being nervous, but it just keeps going. The nerves are just everlasting. But I think that's important because, you know what? I was told once by Simon and by a lot of people in the industry that if you're not nervous anymore, if you're not worried about giving a great show, then you need to change your job.
You just took the words right out of my mouth. Yep.
Exactly. You should be nervous because you want it to be done well. That's what nerves are, is you want the right message to get across. And so if you don't feel that way, then you might want to get a new job. And so I always took that with me. I was like, all right, it's cool to be a little anxious about this. It's all right.
Drew, I'm going to use a baseball analogy because we carry Diamondbacks baseball here on the station. Back in the 50s, the legendary Hall of Fame baseball player Joe DiMaggio was talking about the same thing, the butterflies and nervousness and things like this. And somebody said, Joe, you're already a big star. Why do you get nervous when you're out there? Why do you have butterflies? He says, because when I'm out there, I look up in the stands, and there might be a kid who's seeing me for the very first time. He's going to judge me based upon what he saw that day at Yankee Stadium, and I don't want to let him down.
Exactly. Definitely. And that one kid's life is so, so, so important to inspire. And so that's the same thing that I would carry on into music, is just to go out there in hopes that there's that person in the audience that's so inspired by it. And it only takes one person to give me the courage to get up there every time. It just knowing that there's one person out there that's being inspired, or, that is looking up to me or the music.
And we are talking with Drew Ryniewicz, the Chino Valley's very own, who will be at Matt's Saloon tomorrow evening for her single release party for the single Ugly. We'll talk more with Drew coming up in about 3 minutes on Q&A on the Talk of the Quad Cities, 11:30 a.m., 99.9 FM, and streaming live, you know where, in the words of the immortal Buzz Lightyear, to infinity and beyond on KQNA.com.
You're listening to Q&A on the Talk of the Quad Cities, KQNA. Once again, here's your host, DJ Fone.
And we are back live at 3:20 with Drew Ryniewicz from Chino Valley. You remember her from the X Factor. She has a big single release party tomorrow night at Matt's Saloon on Courthouse Square on Whiskey Row. At 7 o'clock, it'll be the VIP special guest red carpet arrival and photos. At 7:30, the start of the concert, and a meet and greet at 9 o'clock. You can get your tickets, and Drew, correct me if I'm wrong here, you can get your tickets at drew.ticketleap.com, correct?
That is correct. And if you're not sure if you're able to get tickets online right now because you don't know if you'll be able to make it, there will be ticket sales at the door if the tickets don't sell out. So if you can make it last minute, totally come, because I'd love to meet everyone and see everyone there. That's
got to be a lot of fun, meeting the people to whom your music means a lot.
That is the most fun. Meet and greets are my favorite part of being a performer, is to be able to get to meet people who relate, because that's why I do music, is to relate with people and to come to an understanding with other people who have been through the same thing. And so when I meet girls who have been through it, or when I meet guys who understand completely what the music is about and what I've been through, that is the best part. Those are friends. Those are lifelong friends.
Mm-hmm. Now, you said that the featured single you're going to showcase tomorrow night, Ugly, is the first song you have written from start to finish, right?
No. I've actually written hundreds of songs over the past 4 years. The cool part about this one is it really came together and it almost wrote itself. I've written hundreds of songs, genre to genre, in the last 4 years, and I've become a very a different songwriter than I've ever been. And this song just really, it wrote itself, and that's how I knew that this was the song that I wanted to be my single, because it came alive, and it was the first time that I really felt that when I was working on these last few songs for this EP. It was when I really felt it come alive, and I felt like people were really going to respond to it.
And that brings to mind something that I've learned from a lot of writers, musicians, book authors, playwrights on the show here. A lot of times when they write something that's very, very personal to them, they get the idea in the middle of the night sometimes. They have to wake up, they'll have a tape recorder or a notepad or a voice recorder next to the bed, or in the course of their everyday dealings, a new idea will pop up. Let me ask you this. In the course of writing Ugly, how many times do you think you had to change the lyrics because you thought, that's a better lyric?
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
Yeah, sure. In the course of writing the song Ugly, how many times, if you can remember how many times, did you have to change course and say, you know what, this is a better lyric. Let me change it to this one. Did the song keep rewriting itself?
Oh, gosh, yes, definitely. And I love that. I love it. It's really when it's growing, the song is growing. And I love when you come up with a lyric and then you think of something that's even better than the one before. And that's how you write a great song, is when you sit on it long enough that you've thought through every single word in detail and are able to finally come to that place where you feel like the song is right. And that's what happened with this song. I love, love, love this song because we sat down to write a completely different concept, and it just flourished into this concept, which is Ugly, which is anti-bullying, which is what I stand for.
And we're going to be talking after the news break with Rhonda Orr, who is a local anti-bullying advocate who speaks to a lot of girls groups around the area about the importance of fending off bullying, in part by holding your head high and using body language that tells them around you, I am confident, I have friends, because isn't it true from your experience that bullies tend to pick on the people they perceive to be weak and have no friends?
Yes, definitely. I think, I'm not sure bullies even know who they're really picking on. They pick on people that they think won't be able to handle it. And so that's why I wrote this song, was so that people could really handle it. There's a lyric in the song that says, ugly is good for me. And that's kind of the place that I came to with myself, is to finally just, let them say it. And you know what? Ugly is good for me, because I know that it's not true. And so that's the place that people who are bullied need to come to, is that, it's not true. Ugly is good for me, because it's not true.
And one of the things I've learned, too, from talking to people about that topic is that if they feel like they're the only person in school and nobody will be their friend, if they can find a way to excel at something they're really, really good at, let that shine through, that will attract other people who think they were outcast, too. And there's a movie that comes to mind called Perks of Being a Wallflower, which with Emma Watson and several other very good young actors, it's all about high school students who think they're outcasts, when in fact that outsider feeling brings them together and they find a whole new level of friendship.
Correct. Yes, if you can find something that you love to do, odds are you're going to attract the same type of person, and that's who you want to be friends with, are the people who understand you and the people who can relate to you. And so definitely, for me, that was music, and I would encourage any kids growing up to just really find something that is in your heart, because you're going to find someone else who has that same message in their heart.
And for our people tuning in a little bit late, Drew will be releasing her new single, Ugly, which was inspired by her own dealings with bullying growing up and a desire to change the definition of the word ugly. She is performing all the new tracks from her new EP. That'll be at Matt's Saloon at Whiskey Row tomorrow evening, starting the concert at 7:30. The VIP special guest arrival is at 7. The meet and greet is at 9 o'clock. Don't forget to get your tickets at drew.ticketleap.com. There will be tickets at the door, correct?
Yes.
So let me ask you this, Drew. Where do you see yourself, say, 5 years from now?
5 years. Oh, gosh. I've got so many plans. I've planned out the next 30 years. But 5 years from now, I want my music to be so established that I'm able to do even more with that. And music is the first platform to what I want to do. I've got so many dreams. I've got dreams of real estate. I've got dreams of public speaking. I've got dreams of literally everything. Because I want to be able to use music to find people that are like-minded and then continue to grow it from there in all the different dreams that I have. So in 5 years, I hope that I'm established enough in this career that I could focus on even more things. Maybe a book in the future? I don't know. I'm a dreamer.
There you go. That's a good thing to have. And isn't it great, being a songwriter and performer, that you can say things in a song you would never say to a person face to face?
Yes, that is one of the greatest things about songwriting, and that's when I really fell in love with songwriting, is when I would go into a session at 14 years old with this story of this boy that I knew I could never say anything to his face or to anyone else about it, but I knew I could write it, and I knew it would be more beautiful that way. You could turn any horrible feelings or beautiful feelings or any feelings into a song, and you could really speak truth through music, and that's when I fell in love with it. I mean, that is one of the greatest things you could do, is to be able to turn something into something even greater.
That is a wonderful lesson in songwriting and entertainment. And Drew, have a great time tomorrow night. I know you've had a very, very busy day today doing the publicity tour. We hope we wish for the best success for you. Our friend Ken Byers is rooting for you all the way.
So much for having me.
Always a pleasure. Drew Ryniewicz at Matt's Saloon tomorrow evening. Thanks for joining us today on Q&A. Stay tuned. We're going to talk bullying with Rhonda Orr coming up right after the news with Lindsay on Q&A on the Talk of the Quad Cities, 11:30 a.m., 99.9 FM, and streaming live at KQNA.com.